I think in the process of leading a transformation, and you've been hearing stories about the transformation efforts that they're leading, you also have to think about yourself. What might I need to do differently, or how do I show up differently? So I'm curious about two things. What leadership principles have been important to you in the transformation process? Like what are you holding fast to? I'll keep that one first, and then I'll switch to my second question.
I'll jump in. I would say open communication, and we just talked and joked about how you have to do it in the right way, and you talked about making sure you do it in the right way, as we all did. And clearly, you're good at it because you're able to accomplish what you've accomplished. So I guess it's impressive. But it's it is open communication and transparency, and I think that that's more important. Just a different day, and different younger workers want that more. They want transparency, and they want to be aware of things. And so I always come back to that: am I communicating well enough, and trying to put myself in the other person's shoes, and how could I communicate better? Because in the past I was more like, just get it done. The business will grow, everything will come along. It's like you have to do a better job communicating. Maybe it's the society changing, maybe just a bigger organization. Because before I was talking to most of the people. Now it's a big company. I'm only talking to a small group of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, to me it was back to the kind of quote you had at the beginning around recognizing kind of what had gotten me to that point in my career wasn't going to be what I needed to do to really excel as being CEO. So made a very conscious decision when accepting the job that I was going to go like all in. I was going to be, I was going to work with a coach, and I was going to like really try to like address the things that I had put off, and that has been really terrific, So I have enjoyed that. I think that the transparency part is key. I remember years ago I talked to my then CEO and said, I think that like we should be more transparent. And they said to me, I don't understand how we could be any more transparent than we already are. And I'm thinking like, a lot. The answer to that question is a lot.
Self-awareness issue.
Yeah. And so, have really been trying to like, be very, transparent about like what we're doing and why and how I am spending my time. And then, just as I said, the being like really focusing on the communications and the ability to have the harder conversations. And I did have a particularly hard conversation earlier this year, and I had talked to Jim before I had it, and then I talked to him the next day, and I let him know that the person I was having the conversation with complained to someone that I had been adversarial, and Jim was like, yes! He was like so proud that I had gone from timid to adversarial in a very like short time. So, but I think it's just being conscious about like being aware of all of that.
Well, it's interesting because when you move from here to there, you can't just do the job the way you've always done it before. It's more thinking about even reflecting on how do I do this differently or lead at a different level.
Right.
I mean, you had the same kind of experience.
Finding that I was having to like put on a costume or something at work and operate in a different function. And it wasn't until I really became my authentic self in my work life and my personal life and kind of found harmony between those that I started leading more effectively, I think. And so transparency has been huge for me as well, but I've found that that's required a commitment to training and education as well, because just being transparent without giving them that context or helping them understand what something means doesn't help. And then I've also taken a lot of pride in trying to focus people and simplify efforts. I've kind of prided myself on here are the top 5 things we need to do in the next 6 months, and here are the only 3 things you need to work on in the next 2 weeks. And if you do anything else, because we're in this kind of complex environment and corralling everybody can be challenging. So I've tried to become the synthesizer and the focuser in a lot of ways.
Which is interesting because you said before you're not necessarily the most organized person.
Correct.
But you learned to be effective in a leadership role, you really had to set
I
those
can
areas of
organize
focus.
thoughts and I can say them, but when it comes to sitting down and like writing them, I think I have undiagnosed ADD. So I just like jump around all the time, which works great in a client service business in my role. But I've needed to figure out how to synthesize and make it digestible for folks. And so I can organize the thoughts and communicate them okay. It's just having structure and discipline to go beyond that is sometimes challenging.
Well said. What about you, Tim? When you think about how you've had to change or personally adapt to operating differently?
Yeah, I think I've had to focus on coaching more and teaching to fish rather than fishing. So I'm more of a, if you know what I mean, more of just get in there and solve the problem or help solve the problem. And that isn't scalable. And so company's bigger now and need to help people learn how to fish for themselves, and also have them, let me take it a different direction. Just kind of help them. Here's how I approach it. Now go and take it a different direction. We want to actually learn from folks, right? It shouldn't all be the way that I look at things. And so, but more teaching and more coaching. So I never, I had my 360 several years ago, first one ever. I came back and said, some positive stuff. So, still employed now. And but there were a couple things that were, you're a terrible. You don't focus on building a team. And I was like, what? We have a great team. But then I thought about it and I was like, I haven't spent 1 second thinking about building a team. I've just built the team. Like I was just doing things, and that person's good. Okay, they're doing a good job doing it. But I never really actually thought about how the team worked together. And so, a couple painful meetings with Jim in the beginning. Then it's like, you're right. I don't spend any time on that. And so I started spending time on that. And then you start to talk about, building, talking to people, understanding what drives them, and building that strengthening the relationships. And then some people change roles because you start to learn more about how they think the team's doing and how they think they could help the team. And so more teaching, more coaching, more listening, more caring about the team as opposed to
like in the past, you put the team together.
Yeah.
They were a team, but you didn't pay attention to how
the dynamics.
Were
the
together.
team was built by the task. Here's the task. I need a team to do that. There's the skill sets. Here we go. Let's go to the next thing. As opposed to, why don't you build a really good team, and then they can do all kinds of different tasks. So that's been probably the biggest thing for me.
Need help leading organizational transformation? Let's begin a conversation.